Today's episode of Off the Timeline is titled, What If in 1996, Florida State Almost Built a Superleague with Notre Dame? In 1996, Florida State almost broke college football, not by leaving the ACC, not by joining the SEC, but by publicly flirting with Notre Dame and trying to build a Southern Super Conference around itself. And here's the wild part. This alternate history is not built on fantasy. It's built on real TV leverage, real conference instability, and a 1996 alternate history NBC memo that may have quietly changed everything. Because for a brief moment in the mid 90s, Florida State wasn't just dominating college football, it was positioning itself to control it. But first, let's set the table on the real world context. It's 1995, 1996. Florida State is at the height of the Bobby Bowden era. They've already won a national title. They're finishing top five pretty much every year, and they're the biggest football brand in the ACC by a mile. Meanwhile, the Big 12 is just formed. The SEC is stabilizing after expansion. The Bowl Alliance is tightening championship access. The Big East is wobbling, and TV contracts are becoming conference-driven inventory packages. College football is consolidating, and Florida State can see it coming. And that sets the table for the 1996 NBC memo. In this alternate history, an internal NBC strategy memo from 1996 suggests something subtle but very powerful. Long-term college football value will favor structured conference inventory over standalone independent programming. That line is everything because NBC holds the exclusive deal with Notre Dame. And if the future belongs to conferences and not independents, then Notre Dame has a long-term vulnerability. Now imagine Florida State recognizes that leverage, and that sets the table for the flirtation. In this alternate history, Florida State publicly floats the idea of a football-only scheduling partnership with Notre Dame. Not conference membership, not basketball integration, football only. Annual marquee matchup, shared championship positioning, shared Southern scheduling alliance. This is not desperation, it's leverage. It's Florida State effectively saying, if the ACC won't evolve into a football first power structure, we'll build one ourselves. And that sets the table for the Southern bloc. Florida State begins quietly assembling interest, specifically from Miami, who's concerned about Big East instability, Clemson, who's already a regional rival, a rising program in Virginia Tech, a legacy Southern power in Georgia Tech, and a frustrated SEC middle tier team in South Carolina. The goal? A football governance block inside the ACC structure, revenue weighted towards football draw, scheduling autonomy, championship leverage. The ACC basketball schools panic, such as UNC, Duke, and Wake. They assume Florida State is bluffing. They assume Notre Dame would never align south. They also miscalculate, and that sets the table for the betrayal. Notre Dame doesn't join. They never intend to. They use the public flirtation to renegotiate stronger guarantees from NBC. They leverage this Southern alignment posturing. They extract value, and then they back out. Florida State is left exposed as the aggressor. The ACC destabilizes. The SEC accelerates defensive expansion talks, and Miami moves earlier than in real life. And in this alternate history, the ACC almost fractures in 1998, 5 years before their real world growth. Now, you might be thinking to yourself that Florida State did not need Notre Dame. Correct. This wasn't about validation. It was about structural control before TV money grew. You might be thinking to yourself that the SEC would have just absorbed Florida State immediately. But in 1996, SEC leadership was stabilizing divisions. They believed Florida State was bluffing. That hesitation changes everything. You might be thinking to yourself that Notre Dame would never align with the Southern Bloc. They didn't. They explored, they leveraged, they hedged. You might be thinking that Bobby Bowden wasn't a destabilizer. Publicly, no. Strategically, he protected long-term title access at all costs. And you might be thinking to yourself that this feels way too early for Super League talk. But the Big 12 had just formed. conference consolidation was accelerating. TV economics were changing fast. The incentives were real. And that sets the table for the ripple effects. If this fractures by 1998, Miami joins the ACC earlier. The Big East collapses faster. SEC expansion accelerates defensively. Bowl politics tighten. The 1998 national title landscape changes. Instead of Florida State just being dominant, they become the program that tried to architect the 2000s before they arrived. And that sets the table for why this matters. This alternate history reframes the 1990s as a leverage issue. Florida State wasn't just winning on the field, it was exploring how to control the future structure of the sport. And Notre Dame wasn't passive, they were playing the TV long game. The ACC almost splits, the SEC almost reacts differently, and the modern realignment era might have started early. And in this alternate history, the Superleague never officially forms. But the flirtation changes everything. It forces the ACC to take football more seriously. It signals to the SEC that Florida State's not passive. It shows Notre Dame how much leverage it really has. And it proves something important. The 90s weren't stable. They were one aggressive move away from chaos, and Florida State almost made that move. Now, if you enjoyed this deep dive alternate history scenario, hit like. Comment below. Would Florida State have been better off forcing the split, or should they have joined the SEC outright? And if you love exploring how close college football came to looking completely different, subscribe and check out the other alternate history videos on this channel, because sometimes the most fascinating timelines are the ones that never happened.